name is Melissa Wilson. I'm an extension and research professor at the University of Minnesota, and I work specifically with manure management.
Hi everyone, I'm Brad Gordon. Why are we talking about manure application when it comes to best management practices for water quality? Agriculture is always adapting and changing. And in southern Minnesota specifically, we're looking at more cover crop acres and low or strip till systems, especially across Nicollet County in the 7 Mile Creek watershed. So some farmers actually asked us some questions about how to improve their manure application for more sustainable systems. And when we say sustainable, we're talking about economically, agronomically, and environmentally. We're looking at improving water quality and the bottom line. So we're going to ask Dr. Melissa Wilson from the University of Minnesota Extension a few questions about how to improve manure application with cover crops, maybe perennial crops, and some of these other tillage practices.
Type of equipment can be really important too, for something that can break it up so that it can be applied really evenly and smoothly rather than coming out in really big chunks, because that can be a little more difficult to manage. If you have a different manure type that has a high ammonia concentration, then trying to get that incorporated and having equipment that incorporate that manure is probably one of the best bangs for your buck when it comes to preserving nutrients. But in the case of manure, we have found that application over the years without ever incorporating can really stratify the kind of nutrient profile and build up nutrients right on the soil surface, which can be problematic then for runoff. So we do talk about trying to incorporate even in minimal till situations if you possibly can. Right rate, right source, right time, right place. When we're thinking about nutrients, you want to get those nutrients applied as close to crop uptake as possible. So thinking about spring application, that can be beneficial. I know it can be challenging with logistics, but if you're thinking about fall application, timing is really important too, because early fall application can really allow the nutrients to transform to forms that can be lost pretty quickly. Placement, we just talked a little bit about trying to get that incorporated and mixed in with the soil. You're more likely to trap your nutrients there rather than having them run off in large rainfall events. We're working with 2 farmers that are actually using strip tillage, where they have a manure application system that does the strip till. So they're applying the manure right in that tillage zone. And that's been working out really well with them, especially where they have a lot of residue that leaves that nice strip between the manure rows where they have that residue left over, so that helps reduce like wind erosion and things like that. We're actually doing some research looking specifically at this question right now. We're only about a year into it, so I can tell you what happened the first year. We had a liquid swine manure applied into a growing cover crop that was planted after sweet corn. So sweet corn comes off in early August. We got the cover crop planted, and then we applied manure in late September and then compared that to a late October application. And unfortunately, the next year yields were reduced in that early application. There's definitely a timing difference here. It's looking like cover crops can help if we're in that October range, and then it cools down pretty quickly by November. But in September, it's still just too early. The nice things to think about with spring application with cover crops, especially if you have something like winter rye, which is still growing, is that it could dry out the soil more quickly in wet years. And it seems like at least recently we've been having more and more wet years rather than dry years. So that can be beneficial in that regards. We do not recommend fall application of manure on sandy soils just because they have a really high potential for the nitrogen leaching, because the water can move really quickly through them. So thinking about where those sand veins are and maybe avoid applying on them in the fall if possible can be beneficial. In those cases, like cover crops can be really beneficial in those sand veins because, one, they're hopefully helping to add organic matter in the future, and they're hopefully helping trap some of those nutrients that would release in the future too.